The text came through at 9:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, exactly 1 week before Thanksgiving. I was at my desk at work, reviewing a client presentation, when my phone lit up with my sister's name. Don't bother coming to Thanksgiving this year. It's complicated and honestly it's just easier if you're not there. Brittany. My name is Michelle, and if you're watching this, stay with me, because what happened next taught me that sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people face the consequences of their own actions. I stared at the message, reading it 3 times to make sure I understood correctly. Don't bother coming to Thanksgiving, the holiday we'd spent together as a family for my entire 28 years of life. The holiday that was supposed to be about gratitude and togetherness. I was being uninvited. Via text. With 1 week's notice. My hands shook as I typed back, "What? Why? What's going on?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, Derek's family is coming this year and there's just not enough room. Plus you always get weird about the food anyway. It's better this way. Derek. Her boyfriend of 8 months. The guy who'd moved into her house after knowing her for 6 weeks. The guy who treated service workers like garbage and made condescending comments about my job as a graphic designer. And apparently, he was more important than her own sister. I've never been weird about the food, I typed back, my heart pounding. And it's a big house. There's plenty of room. Michelle, I'm not going to argue about this. My decision is final. Maybe you can do Friendsgiving or something. I set my phone down before I said something I'd regret. My eyes were burning but I refused to cry at work. Not over this. Not over her. But the hurt was overwhelming. Thanksgiving had always been our thing. Mom had passed away 4 years ago, Dad had remarried and moved to Arizona, and it had been just Brittany and me keeping the tradition alive. I'd thought it meant something to her. Apparently, I was wrong. That evening, I sat in my apartment, a cozy 1-bedroom place I'd decorated myself, and tried to process what had happened. My phone kept buzzing with texts from my Aunt Linda, Brittany's godmother. Did you and Brittany have a fight? She just told me not to bring my famous sweet potato casserole because Michelle's handling all the food this year. My stomach dropped. What? I called Aunt Linda immediately. What did you just say? Brittany told me you volunteered to handle all the food this year. She said you wanted to do something special. So I shouldn't bring anything. A cold realization washed over me. Aunt Linda, when did she tell you this? About a month ago, honey. Why? I closed my eyes. And she told other people the same thing? I assume so. That's usually how it works when someone volunteers to host the meal. After we hung up, I started digging. I called my cousin Jason. Same story, Brittany had told him I was covering all the food. I called my Uncle Paul. Same thing. Brittany had told everyone I was handling Thanksgiving dinner. And then she'd uninvited me. Which meant there was no food coming. No turkey, no sides, no desserts. Nothing. Unless a memory surfaced. 6 weeks ago, Brittany had called me, stressed about money. Derek had lost his job and she was covering all their bills. Could I help with Thanksgiving this year? Maybe order the food and she'd pay me back. I'd said yes immediately. Of course I'd help. She was my sister. I pulled up my email and searched for the confirmation. There it was, a $847 order from Premium Harvest Catering, scheduled for delivery to Brittany's house on Thanksgiving morning at 9 a.m. Turkey, ham, all the sides, 3 pies. Everything for 20 people. Paid in full. From my credit card. I sat back, a strange calm settling over me. Brittany had uninvited me from a Thanksgiving dinner that I had paid for. A dinner that, without my order, wouldn't exist. The question was, what was I going to do about it? I spent 2 days thinking about it. Part of me wanted to be the bigger person, to let it go, to just cancel the order and move on with my life. But another part of me, the part that was tired of being walked over, tired of being taken for granted, had a different idea. On Thursday morning, 2 days before Thanksgiving, I called Premium Harvest Catering. "Hi, this is Michelle Sinclair. I have an order scheduled for delivery on Thanksgiving Day, confirmation number TH2847. "Yes, Ms. Sinclair. Large family dinner package, delivery to an address on Maple Ridge Drive. Is everything correct? Actually, I need to make a change. Can you deliver it to a different address?" I gave them my apartment address instead. "Of course. Anything else?" I hesitated for just a moment. "Yes. If anyone else calls about this order, please direct them to me. I'm the account holder and the only one authorized to make changes." "Noted. We'll see you Thursday morning." After I hung up, I sat in my quiet apartment, my heart pounding. I'd done it. I'd redirected the food. Which meant Thanksgiving at Brittany's house was going to be very interesting. I blocked Brittany's number. I didn't want to hear from her until after Thanksgiving. I needed this time to think, to plan, to figure out what I really wanted. Aunt Linda called on Wednesday evening. "Michelle, honey, what time should we arrive tomorrow? Brittany's being weird and won't give me a straight answer. Aunt Linda, I need to tell you something. Brittany uninvited me from Thanksgiving." Silence. Then, "She what?" "She texted me last week saying not to bother coming. That Derek's family would be there and there wasn't room for me." That's... Michelle, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. It gets worse. She told everyone I was handling the food, but she never told me she was uninviting me. So everyone thinks there's going to be a big meal, but there's no food," Aunt Linda finished, her voice sharp. "Because you were bringing it." "Exactly. What are you going to do?" I smiled, though she couldn't see it. "I'm going to let her figure it out." Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and bright. At 9 a.m. sharp, my doorbell rang. The Premium Harvest delivery team stood there with boxes and warming trays, everything perfectly prepared. I tipped them generously and brought everything inside, setting it all up in my small kitchen and dining area. The turkey was golden and perfect. The sides smelled incredible. The pies looked like something from a magazine. And it was all mine. I poured myself a glass of wine, put on comfortable clothes, a cozy rust orange knit sweater with a deep V-neck that I'd had for years, my favorite jeans, going barefoot in my own home, and settled in to wait. The first call came at 10:30 a.m. "Aunt Linda. Michelle. Brittany is losing her mind. The food never showed up and she's calling everyone asking if they brought anything. People are starting to arrive and there's nothing to eat." I said, taking a sip of wine. "That's unfortunate. Michelle." Aunt Linda's voice was half scolding, half amused. "What did you do?" "I had the order delivered to my address instead. Since I paid for it, and since I wasn't invited, it seemed only fair that I keep it." Aunt Linda burst out laughing. "Oh, honey. She's going to have a fit. Probably. But you know what? I'm tired of being treated like I don't matter. She uninvited me and expected me to still provide the meal? No. Not anymore. Good for you. Honestly, good for you. Half the family is already heading out. Derek's parents look horrified. This is a disaster. A disaster of Brittany's own making, I pointed out. True. Very true. Hey, do you have room for a few more at your place? Because I'd much rather have Thanksgiving with you than deal with whatever chaos is happening here. I looked at my table, at all the food, at my cozy apartment. Yeah, Aunt Linda. I have room. Within an hour, my apartment was filling up. Aunt Linda arrived first, bringing her famous sweet potato casserole that Brittany had told her not to make. Then cousin Jason showed up with his wife and kids. Uncle Paul came with his partner. My best friend Morgan, who'd heard what happened, showed up with wine and moral support. By noon, I had 12 people crammed into my small apartment, laughing and eating and celebrating together. Real celebration, without the tension and judgment that had crept into Brittany's gatherings over the past year. My phone, I'd unblocked Brittany's number just to see, was exploding with messages. Where is the food? Michelle, I know you did something. This is so immature. Call me right now. You're ruining Thanksgiving for everyone. I showed the messages to Aunt Linda, who shook her head. Not one apology. Not one acknowledgement of what she did to you. That's Brittany, I said quietly. It's never her fault. Around 2 p.m., my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Brittany standing there, her face red and tear-streaked, Derek hovering behind her looking uncomfortable. You stole the food, she said, her voice shaking with anger. I didn't steal anything, I replied calmly. I redirected my order to my address. The food I paid for. You knew I was counting on that. You uninvited me, Brittany. You told me not to bother coming. Why would you think I'd still provide the food? Because you always do. You always help. That's what you do. The words hung in the air between us. Aunt Linda appeared at my shoulder, her presence supportive. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You uninvited me from Thanksgiving because Derek's family was more important. But you still expected me to pay for and provide all the food for your dinner. Even though I wasn't invited to eat it. Put like that, even Derek looked uncomfortable. Brittany's mouth opened and closed. It's not, you're twisting things. No, Brittany. I'm just stating facts. You used me. You told everyone I was handling the food, then you kicked me out, and you expected me to still foot the bill and do all the work. I was going to pay you back. Like you paid me back for your car insurance last year? Or the loan you needed for Derek's birthday trip? You never pay me back, Brittany. You just take and expect me to smile about it. Tears were streaming down her face now. I can't believe you're doing this. Mom would be so disappointed in you. The words hit like a physical blow. But Aunt Linda stepped forward, her voice sharp. Don't you dare bring your mother into this. She would be ashamed of how you've treated your sister. Michelle has done nothing but support you, and you repaid her by kicking her out of the family holiday and trying to steal her money. I didn't steal. You told everyone she was providing the food, then uninvited her, and expected her to still pay for it all. What do you call that? Brittany looked at Derek for support, but he was studying his shoes. Some of his family members had apparently come with them and were waiting in the car, watching this unfold. I'm sorry, Brittany finally whispered. Okay? I'm sorry. Can we please have some of the food? Derek's parents are here and we have nothing to serve them. I looked at her, at my sister who'd become someone I barely recognized. Someone who only valued me for what I could provide. No, I said quietly. You made your choice. You chose Derek's comfort over your own sister. You chose to use me one more time. Well, I'm done being used. Michelle, please. You have two options, I continued. You can go to the grocery store and figure out dinner for your guests. Or you can genuinely apologize, not just to me, but to everyone whose Thanksgiving you ruined, and start treating people with respect. Starting with me. Brittany stared at me, shocked. She'd never seen me stand up to her like this. None of us had. She swallowed hard. I really am sorry. I was stressed about Derek's family and I handled it all wrong. You didn't just handle it wrong. You were cruel. And manipulative. And you only care now because you got caught. She flinched. That's not fair. Neither is what you did to me. We stood there for a long moment, the gap between us feeling wider than ever. Finally, Brittany turned and walked away, Derek trailing behind her. I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. You did the right thing, Aunt Linda said softly. Then why do I feel terrible? Because you have a good heart. But that doesn't mean you should let people take advantage of it. I nodded, wiping at my eyes. Then I took a deep breath and went back to my guests, to the people who actually valued my presence, not just my wallet. The rest of Thanksgiving was wonderful. We played games, told stories about Mom, laughed until we cried. It was the best Thanksgiving I'd had in years, precisely because it was filled with people who wanted me there. Around 8 p.m., after everyone had left and I was cleaning up, my phone rang. Brittany. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Michelle. Her voice was small, broken. Can we talk? Really talk? I hesitated. Where's Derek? I asked him to leave. We had a fight after everything. His parents were horrible about the food situation and he defended them instead of taking responsibility. I saw how he really is today. How he's been changing me. I sat down on my couch, suddenly exhausted. What do you want me to say, Brittany? I want you to know that I see it now. How I've treated you. How I've taken you for granted. Aunt Linda stayed after everyone left and she didn't hold back. She told me everything. Every time I've used you, hurt you, ignored you. And she's right. About all of it. Tears pricked my eyes. You really hurt me. I know. I know I did. And I can't take it back. But I want to try to make it right. If you'll let me. It's going to take time, Brittany. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. I understand. I don't want to lose you. You're all I have left of Mom. Of our real family. And I almost threw it away for a guy who showed his true colors the second things got hard. We talked for over an hour. Really talked, maybe for the first time in years. About Mom, about how we'd both been struggling with grief, about how Brittany had let Derek isolate her from everyone who actually cared. It wasn't a magic fix. But it was a start. The weeks after Thanksgiving brought real changes. Brittany broke up with Derek, who moved out with minimal drama. She started therapy to deal with her grief and her pattern of choosing the wrong people. And slowly, carefully, we started rebuilding our relationship. She paid me back for the Thanksgiving food. She apologized to Aunt Linda and the rest of the family. She started showing up, really showing up, as a sister. It wasn't perfect. We had setbacks. But for the first time in years, I felt like I had my sister back. The real one, not the version Derek had helped create. 3 months later, on a random Tuesday evening, Brittany showed up at my apartment with takeout. I wanted to say thank you, she said as we sat down to eat. For not giving up on me. Even when I gave you every reason to. You're my sister, I said simply. I know. And I forgot what that meant. But I'm remembering now. She picked at her food. I'm also sorry it took you essentially canceling Thanksgiving for me to wake up. You shouldn't have had to do that. Maybe I did, I said. Maybe we both needed it. You needed to see what happens when you push people too far. And I needed to learn that it's okay to set boundaries, even with family. She nodded. Aunt Linda said you were a badass that day. I laughed. Did she? She said you handled it with more grace than she would have. That you stood your ground without being cruel, even though you had every right to be. I didn't want to be cruel. I just wanted to be respected. You deserve that. You deserve that. Brittany set down her fork. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know how much you matter to me. Not for what you can do for me. Just for being you. Tears filled my eyes. I'd like that. We spent the rest of the evening like we used to, years ago. Laughing, talking, being sisters. Real sisters. And when she left, I looked around my apartment, the same apartment that had hosted the best Thanksgiving of my adult life, and felt genuinely grateful. Grateful for family who showed up. Grateful for the strength to stand up for myself. Grateful for second chances that were earned, not just given. That Thanksgiving, when Brittany had texted me not to bother coming, She'd thought she was making room for what mattered. She'd been wrong about what actually mattered. And by the time she figured it out, I'd already learned to value myself enough to not accept scraps. The food had been the catalyst, sure. But what really changed everything was my willingness to say, no more. No more being used. No more being taken for granted. No more accepting treatment I didn't deserve just because someone shared my DNA. I'd learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for others, is to let them face the consequences of their actions. Brittany had needed to see what life looked like without me constantly bailing her out. And I'd needed to see that I could survive standing up for myself. We'd both learned valuable lessons that day. And our relationship was stronger for it. As I got ready for bed that night, I looked at the photo Aunt Linda had taken on Thanksgiving, all of us crammed into my tiny apartment, laughing and happy. It sat on my nightstand now, a reminder. A reminder that I was worth showing up for. That my presence was a gift, not a burden. That I deserved respect, consideration, and love. Brittany had texted, "Don't bother coming to Thanksgiving." But in doing so, she'd given me something unexpected, the push I needed to finally put myself first. And that, more than any turkey or pie, was worth being grateful for.